Hello everyone, I'm your host Kalilah Reynolds and welcome to Your Business Matters, a new series brought to you by EXIM Bank. It's a debate geared towards bringing thought leaders together with thought-provoking ideas and methods on business matters to help you grow your business. Today's topic, when starting a business, is it more important to do something you're passionate about or to fulfill a need in the market? We'll meet our debaters in just a few, but first, here are the rules. Both sides will contest the motion, one who is for the affirmative and one who's against the opposition. Each debater will get 3 minutes to make their opening statement, but the other side can interject with a point of information in which they can pose a question to their opponent in 60 seconds or less. The next round is the rebuttal. Each side will have 2 minutes to rebut their opponent's main points, and then the gloves are off. At the end, it will be up to you, the viewers, to vote for a winner in the comments section. Who did you think won the debate? We'll compile the results and announce the winner on social media. Now, let's get on with today's argument. When starting a business, what's the best approach? Do you fulfill an existing need, or do you turn your passion into a business? Let's meet our debaters. Well, in this corner, we have Lisandra Rickards. She's Team Passion, founder and CEO of Soul Career. And in this corner, William Mahfood, chairman of the Wisynco Group. He's Team Create a Need. Lisandra, we start with you.
A lot of entrepreneurs wonder, what should I start my business around? What idea should I bring to life through my business? And many of them tap into their passions. And we've heard for the past decade, follow your passion, follow your passion. And there's a reason for that. The reason is that we need to sustain ourselves with our purpose. There needs to be something that's driving us to make the decisions and to do the hard things in order to make this business a success. Because running a business is a marathon, right? And it will take you through some very challenging times that challenge the core of who you are. And in order to make it through, you have to have a why. You have to have a purpose, a calling, a mission, a passion for what you're doing. Otherwise, at the first sign of difficulty, you're going to close up shop and shut the door. So I'm on the side of starting a business from your passion. I know that passion is not enough though, but it is a necessary ingredient to sustaining a business over the long haul.
Okay, well, let's hear Team Create a Need or Create a Want. William Mahfood.
Thank you, Kalilah. And Lisandra, I hear you, and I know a lot of entrepreneurs who have been successful with passion, but the reality is, in the corner of fulfilling a need and creating a want, the alternative is many of those entrepreneurs fail. And without the ability to build a business that has, to be able to sustain that business, from a point of view of financial returns, we have to pay the bills, we have to pay the mortgage, we have to pay, gas, car payments, etc. The businesses that are, passion-driven only, they tend to, in many cases, those entrepreneurs tend to be struggling, and in many cases they sell their homes or mortgage themselves to the hilt. The reality is, in fulfilling a need, what you have is a situation where you see an opportunity. And I use the example of water, for example. If we saw an opportunity, the market was there, most people were drinking soft drinks, juices, etc. But there was, there's healthy alternatives. Water is a healthier alternative. There is a market and a consumer need. We saw that need and we went after it and we created that. The same thing applies to products like phones, smartphones today. All of these products came out of a desire for companies to create a need and fill that need. And I think that in the long term, the passion is only going to be for the individual and is not going to sustain the business going forward.
Time for rebuttals, and I see Lisandra is itching to respond.
I'm ready.
So go ahead.
I've worked with many entrepreneurs that found that when they started to target a need, they worked themselves into a job and became imprisoned by their organization. And they didn't have any feeling towards it. It's just something that they now have to sustain because it's growing and they don't feel anything. They start to hate the business. And in that situation, they burn out very quickly. It's not enough that you have a very analytical approach. Well, X by 2 by X, I measure the dimensions of this market and I realize that there's a white space there and I can enter. That is not enough to sustain you in the business over the long term. But I would also add that your personality, your psychometric profile has a lot to do with this. So if you are someone who is naturally very analytical and you don't need a lot of emotion in order to push forward and push through the hard times, then fine, you will be successful in that analytical approach to starting a business. However, if you are more emotional, which most of us in Jamaica are, if you're more feelings-based, you have to feel something for your business. You have to feel some amount of love and interest and want and desire to make this thing successful in order to carry you through the marathon that is having a successful business.
Great points, Lisandra. William?
So yeah, it is a marathon. I mean, if you even look at our own journey over the course of Wisynco's evolution, one of the things was we were, and I use an example of my father. He was very passionate. He was passionate about being in manufacturing, and I tried to explain to him for years that our business was not a manufacturing driven business, but more of a distribution business, and creating consumer demand for products that, today many of them are household names. And we would have huge differences and argue at this point, but at the end of the day, the success came from the ability for us to, one, create products that consumers needed, two, make those products available to consumers. I don't get burnout. I'm still excited about what I do. The reality is, I think if you can blend or mix your business and career objectives with, fulfilling the desire to create a successful business, that in itself is maybe enough.
Well, I would argue, William, that that's because you yourself are a very analytical mind. Even the way you speak, very measured, very thoughtful, not with the passion and the excitement that I'm talking, right? So if I started a manufacturing business like Wisynco, I don't know if I would have made it what you've made it, because it doesn't call to me the way that the numbers call to you. And I would further add that beyond a certain point, making more money is just not enough for some people, right? The money chase, the profitability chase, the revenue chase, the growth chase, it becomes very empty. And I would add that it may be a function of personality type, but it can become very empty to just chase more and more and more dollars without a bigger impact or mission behind it. And so I will argue my point that actually an underlying passion, desire, and love for what you do is going to be really important for you to drive the business forward.
So, William, how do you get excited about water, for example? It seems like something very basic, very mundane.
No, I get very excited. I mean, the reality is, if you look at the market today in Jamaica, when we entered the water market, my father, the passionate one, felt that water would never be able to sell in Jamaica. He figured the market would never accept it. And I saw the opportunity. I felt consumers wanted healthier products. And the biggest challenge was being able to make it available. I felt that if we could find a way to make the products available, get consumers to be able to see them at every street corner and so forth, we'd create a market. Well, I mean, today, not our brand only, but water as a category is the leading beverage sold in Jamaica by far. So we saw a desire, a want that was there underlying. We fulfilled the need that was there. And so, am I passionate about it? Well, the reality is, and I'm not driven by money, I think I'm more driven by the ability to as a company, to find opportunity to enhance and improve the lives of the people that are in the organization, and at the same time fulfill the consumer needs.
So you do incorporate passion into your business?
So Wisynco has an acronym for the values of the organization, CHIRP, and the P in CHIRP stands for passion. So passion is an important part of our organizational values, and that speaks to Lisandra's point. But at the end of the day, it is not the only part.
Yes.
It is, there are compassion and humility and integrity. All of those values, I think, are important. And also fundamentally, as an organization, what is it that motivates our organization? We look at the environmental goals and sustainability. We look at not only profitability, but all of the other
So
things.
those ESG.
The ESG is very, very important for us and has now become one of the key topics that we focus on, besides profitability and besides, and human development, leadership and human development in the organization.
Lisandra, William raised a very important
Yes.
point earlier. He said many passion businesses fail. And this might be because entrepreneurs, they find something that they're passionate about and that they want to do, but there's no demand
Yes.
for the product or service. So how do you respond to that?
Passion alone is not enough. Passion is a necessary but not sufficient condition for a successful business. You need system structure, cash flow in place, all of that. And so it requires a lot of investment on the part of the entrepreneur. However, to this point of sales and market and generating a market for your passion product, most entrepreneurs get into business because they are in love with the product, but they have no idea how to sell that product or pitch that product to the market, whether it's a business-to-business product or service or business-to-consumer. And so there's a steep learning curve in learning how to sell, learning what piques the interest of the target market, learning how to sell on a mass scale or on a larger scale than just one at a time. There is a very steep learning curve, which is why passion-based businesses in the early stages, as they're learning to sell their product or service, they tend to filter out and die and have to make it through that chasm. It's called crossing the chasm, right? There's a valley of death for passion-based businesses that occurs because you don't know how to sell what you're producing, or you've entered a saturated market where everybody's doing the same thing and you haven't learned how to differentiate yourself yet, how to network properly to get sales and get the results that you want. So there's only a few of those that can cross that chasm and make it into the upswing of running a business, right? But I would argue that that is the same thing when you're trying to fill a gap. The gap might disappear. Many entrants might crowd that space, which happened with water, right? Water became very crowded with lots of brands, but I still drink water, William. I still drink your brand. Right? So then you have to learn now how to be competitive and how to set yourself apart within a very competitive space, even though you enter the business based on analysis and not on passion. So the problems are the same no matter where you start, and you need a lot of capacity as an entrepreneur to make it through that valley of death.
But do you still, even when you have a passion-based business, need to fill a need? Because how do you know when you've stumbled upon something that you love it, but it doesn't guarantee that other people are going to love it, other people are going to want it, and there's a need for it?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no way you can say no to that question, right? Because if you are baking a cake and there's 1 million cake bakers, you're going to have a very hard time becoming a profitable business because the market is so saturated. There's no unmet demand. The demand is met there. So there has to be a space where you feel you can create value by serving a demand that is not yet met. Otherwise, your business is not going to be profitable. So there's no way that you can jump into a saturated market and think, I'm going to be the one that breaks out. It's just not, you have to be a little bit more sophisticated as a business person than that. But I'll go back to, if you don't care about the product, if you don't care about the mission, then there's no way at all that you're going to survive in that space.
So this is where the analytical mind would come in and say, how do you disrupt the baking industry or the cake industry? Come out with a savory cake. I don't know if anybody has ever done it. Maybe come out with like an oxtail flavored cake.
Oh, God!
But in other words, that's one of the things that I think you would now look at and say, because the cake market is so saturated, what can you do differently to disrupt that market? Similarly, and the water was the same thing. There was so many juices and beverages and sodas being sold, but nobody was really selling water on a mass scale and making it available. So you'd have to look at that, that's where I think that fulfilling a need or creating the want comes in, because you have to take into consideration that everybody bakes like, your Black Forest cake and your strawberry shortcake and all it. All of those are already out there. Yes, you might be able to do it better, but are you going to really create a huge business from it? But if you do something different,
So even with your passion-based business, you still have to find a need and fill a gap.
You have to fill a gap. You have to find that need. And that's where I think maybe the entrepreneurs who are passionate but don't have the same kind of approach are the ones who struggle.
So how do you respond to that, Lisandra? Because let's go back to your cake baking example, right? You are passionate about baking cakes, but you love baking birthday cakes, specifically birthday cakes. Lots of other bakers bake birthday cakes. William is saying that you have to be more specific, more niche than that. How do you get around that problem?
I think you have to decide what kind of business you want to
Because
build.
what if you don't want to bake oxtail cakes?
Right. But even beyond that, so William is thinking scale and value and capturing large, market share. That's how William thinks, right? But what if you want to create a lifestyle business, a business that allows you the freedom to work your own hours and pays you salary replacement, and you're not trying to build a big scalable business? You have to decide that for yourself first, right? What do I want this business to mean for me? And personally, for me, I'm somewhere in the middle between scalability and lifestyle. I need to build a scalable business that allows me to have the lifestyle that I want. My fear is to get trapped, build something that traps me and imprisons me in it, that I can't escape from it, right? So that being said, if you decide that, well, I want to have a cake lifestyle business and I need to explore and express my passions for fruit and sweets, even though there's a market for savory, I love the sweet thing, then in that regard, you're going to have to be very good at networking and sales and building your brand and your reputation and your core raving fans, and you're going to know that this is going to be small because the market is saturated. So you're not going to get to $1 billion cake business thinking like that. If you decide you want to build $1 billion cake business, then you have to think completely differently from that. And then William's thoughts around going into unmet spaces, analyzing, disrupting the market, coming up with new technology around cakes, making little bite-sized whatever, then that comes into play.
So, team passion versus team fulfill a need. What was your favorite part of the debate, and who do you think won? What was the most important thing, or what is the most important thing in starting your business? Were you most convinced by Lisandra Rickards, CEO of Soul Career, or William Mahfood, chairman of the Wisynco Group? Leave your comments below. That's it for this episode of Your Business Matters, brought to you in partnership with EXIM Bank's Business Advisory Service, giving you the tools to grow your business. Visit their website at eximbankja.com.